You never forget your first encounter with one of these guys. Every once in a while a game will come along that's like a tractor meme that'll suck you right in. There are people that play extraction shooters and love the thrill of finding something rare or that item that they've been looking for a while. And now that you have it, you gotta get out of there alive. But Arc Raiders has got people playing that normally don't like playing an extraction shooter, or even a whole lot of video games in general. This game's done something that you don't see very often. It reminds me of a game like Skyrim or Red Dead Redemption 2, where just in my own personal experience, I thought fantasy RPGs were nerdy and westerns were for old people. But then those games came along and I not only fell in love with them, but also the worlds that they were set in. Not only are so many people outside of the extraction shooter audience giving this game a try, but they just keep coming back for more. Usually the 1 to 3 months after the release of a game is where the player base decreases dramatically. It might be that they've already done everything that the game has to offer, or that the overall experience just gets boring after a while. It loses the excitement of experiencing something new each time you play. Last year we had Arc Raiders, Battlefield, and Call of Duty all released towards the end of the year.
Gangsters, what's up guys?
And it's just getting more obvious that Call of Duty's gotten stale and just downright ridiculous after releasing a game every year for the past 20 or so years. Now Battlefield was off to a good start, everyone was super excited about the beta, but since it's been released there's been a big drop off and they've seemingly taken ideas from COD's playbook that isn't really going to retain players like they'd hoped for. But Arc Raiders, the little David versus the two Goliaths, has been the best out of those three and it's not even close. It's hard to say that there's absolutely one thing in particular that's the silver bullet, but it's pretty much everything about this game that makes the experience so fun, not just for a couple weeks, but for months and months. The core gameplay is definitely different between Arc Raiders, COD, and Battlefield, but when you compare Call of Duty in particular with Arc Raiders, it's a lot clearer about what's setting them apart. You have things like the difference in pricing with Arc Raiders being nearly half the price, it's not going to take up all the space on your hard drive, and the game functions in a way that it makes you want to keep playing instead of just trying to squeeze every bit of money out of you. Man, I really hope this game doesn't get Fortnite-ified. Is that a word? When you think of extraction shooters, the first game that comes to mind is probably going to be Escape from Tarkov, and for good reason. It's a great game, but it appeals more to a hardcore audience, and there's a lot of depth to the game, but it can be very intimidating to someone wanting to start out now. If it were available on console, that would bring more players in, but for those reasons, people just haven't been drawn into the game to the same level that they are with Arc Raiders. Delta Force is similar to Tarkov, and it has enemy AI included in raids, and it's also available on console, but even with that, it never really caught on. And as a Call of Duty fan, I've played DMZ for hundreds of hours. Expectedly, the PvP was the best part of the game, but the enemy AI for the most part wasn't challenging or even rewarding to team up against. You had bosses like the Chemist, but if you took them out once or twice, that felt like it was enough. One thing that sets Arc Raiders apart is that the PvP and PvE are top notch. Even with the best equipment, you can't just take out the Matriarch by yourself. At least most of us can't. Now even if you have a good amount of time in the game, you can still get humbled if you're caught out in the open by a Rocketeer. The PvP is up there with any other PvP focused game. A big part of that is the guns, with each one having its own feel and personality. Even with the different attachments, they still feel like the same gun.
Brother,
Like I mentioned before, the overall experience makes you want to keep coming back and playing. And a big part of that is the matchmaking, which could be its own video in and of itself. But I think that the skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty and disbanding lobbies is one of the reasons why those who grew up with this series don't really want to play it anymore. It's even more of a problem if you want to play with friends that have a different skill level, where Call of Duty sticks you in games based off of the highest skill level of whoever's the best player in your party. And as much as I don't like skill-based matchmaking, I do think that a little dash of it might actually be a nice thing, because I do think that there's an element of it in Arc Raiders, but it's become clearer and clearer that matchmaking is based more off of aggression. And so because of that, if you want a more chill and cooperative lobby, maybe just don't shoot everyone on sight.
Tango down.
I tend to be a lot more friendly than aggressive, and after playing this game for hundreds of hours, I recently got put into a game with a brand new player that didn't even know where the elevator was, and so I taught him a lesson. No, I'm just kidding. I ended up helping him find the exfil and gave him a nice little gun on the way out.
enjoy Batman.
But one thing that I run into is if I play duos and trios and am more aggressive than when I play solos, the game still thinks that I want to just shoot everything that moves when I go back to playing solos.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa.
Whether you are playing more aggressive or cooperative, the social aspect of this game is just incredible. Whether it's more on the aggressive side,
Alright, this is a reverse mugging, good sir. This is a reverse mugging. I'm gonna drop all my items. I'm gonna pick you up, and then we're gonna go our ways. This is a reverse mugging.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna pick you up, and we're gonna go our separate ways. Here we go. Have a great raid.
And then there's more cooperative.
3, 2, 1, go!
And then there's the middle.
Oh, we gotta go back. Here we go, here we go. Hey, yo, guys, I got a hatch key if you're all...
Take everything, because there's no point of trying.
When you're all ready to go, y'all want to hit a hatch? Here we go. Come on, guys, let's go. Let's all hatch out, let's all hatch out. All right, let's see if we can all get out on one key. Everyone stand, like, right here. Let's all stand here. Let's get ready to go. Everyone stand right here. Who has the key? Who has the key?
That was awesome. I'm not even mad, bro.
And he just lets them go. What a nice thing to do. Even if you feel like your lobby's friendly, you can still get stabbed or shot in the back.
Shoot!
But with the matchmaking, it does help newer and more experienced players both want to keep jumping back in. I think the challenges and rewards are done well for the most part. While they're not perfect, it is nice being able to complete a series of challenges and then ultimately get a nice blueprint like the Hole Cracker. It's also rewarding to be able to upgrade your workbenches and then be able to use new equipment that makes all the difference. Now, one thing that a lot of people have different opinions on is the expedition system, where it seems like it works well for the casuals and the hardcore players, where it's not a mandatory reset for those of us that have jobs and aren't able to play as much. You don't have to worry about just losing all your stuff, including your hard-earned blueprints. But if you do decide that you want to participate in the expedition, you'll basically lose all your progress on your current character, like your skill points and all of your stuff, in exchange for some perks and advantages for your next character. You spend a lot of time getting good stuff, and then if you want to participate in the expedition, you actually have to just basically discard all of it. And so since you're not able to use it, I think that there could be a better system in place. But even with that, every system in the game seems like it's thought out really well, and improvements can come pretty quickly. Like at the beginning, if you played as a duo, you'd match up with teams of 3 and just get destroyed for the most part if you were going to be aggressive. But then they updated the matchmaking to prioritize keeping duos in the same raids. And I think that's probably why we have the issue with loading into a raid that is already halfway over, which is probably the biggest complaint right now, and hopefully they can get rid of that, but it might actually be needed for better matchmaking. Another thing that you'll see here that you won't see with COD is free in-store credits that aren't tied to a battle pass. And at 40 bucks for the game, there's just a ton that players get for what they put in, and it's great to see in a world where everything is just getting more and more expensive. I haven't really had any issues with running into cheaters, but again, I usually play more friendly, and so I'm in more friendly lobbies, but apparently it's becoming more of a problem, and I think that Embark will hopefully address it quickly before people decide to ultimately stop playing. On the bright side, if you do end up losing your stuff to a cheater, you'll sometimes get a message like this:
Behold!
Your stuff. But going forward, it is going to be interesting to see what happens exactly. Shortly after the game released, we got Stella Montis, which came with new equipment and arcs. And hopefully going forward there can be a steady stream of new stuff to do. I think that pretty much any game is going to have a fall off, but the fact that Arc Raiders hasn't had the same fall off that other games have is pretty impressive. Even though the reset is an option, I think it could be better if you had maybe better rewards, or if you acquired a set amount of blueprints, you could keep that blueprint going forward after the reset, just as an example. Kind of like using a prestige token when you would prestige in Call of Duty. But there is a reason why this game has been so successful, and it's because this game is doing what other franchises used to do, where its primary focus is making and maintaining a good game. Which is crazy, I know. I think this game's going to be very relevant for a long time, especially if new stuff gets added at a steady rate. As of right now, in early 2026, we haven't heard exactly what the plan is, but even what they've done with the new Cold Snap event and things like that, have a lot for you to play on the same map and have a different experience, and so I hope that they do things like that as well. Even though there isn't a dedicated campaign, the story or concept of the game is really interesting, where you're living underground and go onto the surface to do these raids. And the new content improves and adds to the story, which is really cool. And I think that no matter what, there's always going to be a dedicated fan base. But what do you think? Do you think you'll be playing it for a while? I certainly think I will. Thanks so much for watching this one, I really appreciate it, and wish you luck with your next Freeloadout Stella Montis run.
Brother,